Welcome back, everyone, to the GOATcast podcast. I hope your week is going well. I am CW, here with the only person on the planet who cannot beat me at 2K, Big Nige.
What? You opened up with that?
That's what I opened up with. I'm talking about Xbox, though. But anyway, let's get right into it. The in-season tournament has finally gotten into the tournament aspect of the tournament. We've got the brackets for the knockout round, which will be played out today and tomorrow. So we're going to do our predictions on the tournament, but also we're going to see how well we did with the group play. And we're going to start out east with Group A. Indiana Pacers, Cleveland Cavaliers, Philadelphia Sixers, Atlanta Hawks, and Detroit Pistons. Surprisingly, the Indiana Pacers 4-0 came out of East Group A. Any surprises there? I know our predictions were the Sixers. Are you kind of surprised or no surprise?
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised. I'm surprised that they had a loss to Cleveland. I mean, of course the Sixers were going to beat the Pistons, Atlanta. We all knew that. They did lose to Indiana, it's a game that they could have lost, but the loss against Cleveland was pretty inexcusable. So I was surprised they weren't higher, but Indiana, they wanted it. And Halliburton has played amazing during this in-season tournament run, so they deserved it.
Yeah, they came out to play, and they are now sitting the top of East Group. So they're in the knockout rounds. In Group B for the East, we have the Milwaukee Bucks, New York Knicks, Miami Heat, Charlotte Hornets, and Washington Wizards. Of course, the Milwaukee Bucks come out of that group 4-0. Any surprise there? I believe you were really high on the Miami Heat for that group.
Yeah, so I picked Miami. I thought they'd be a little bit more poised. I was not expecting them to, I mean, they lost to New York and Milwaukee in their little in-season play. I mean, I figured, we get a little hint of playoff Jimmy. He would just kind of remind everybody that he's still one of the best playoff performers. Just kind of giving us a little treat for the regular season, but I don't think he even played in half those games because he's been resting periodically throughout the season, apparently. But I want to give a shout out to the Knicks. They showed that they were my number 2 pick, and they battled. And had not been for a couple costly plays at the end, and maybe Julius Randle not stinking up the joint, they could have definitely been 4-0, and they would have beat Milwaukee that night. But anyway, they're still in it, and Milwaukee, they cleaned up their act. I'm still a little concerned about their defense, but that's a conversation for a later segment. But yeah, they did good. Both teams deserved it.
I was pretty pro Bucks there. I was still a little leery, but I wasn't full on with Miami like you were. Not surprised with the Knicks. Like I said in our midweek mayhem, I'm pretty high on the Knicks. I feel like I can trust the Knicks right now, which is something I haven't said in a long time, but they're scrappy. You laughed when I said Mitchell Robinson and quickly, but those guys have been producing in the in-season tournament. So I think they're justified in getting to that 4th spot. Of course, Milwaukee is the number 1 overall seed. We'll talk about that when we get into our bracket play predictions. But let's go out to East Group C, which had Boston Celtics, Orlando Magic, Brooklyn Nets, Toronto Raptors, and Chicago Bulls. I believe we both pretty much said Boston, and that's pretty much how it played out.
Yeah, no surprise there. Not much to say. Orlando played really well. Brooklyn surprisingly played really well as well. Yeah, Toronto and the Bulls, dog water. So it was nice to see Orlando compete the way they did. Unfortunately, they had the Boston Celtics in their group, so they don't get to represent that East Group C. But they're competing, and they're only getting better from here.
They're still playing well. They're still, if I was doing a power rankings, they're still up there in the whole NBA, in the league. So let's shift gears over to the Western Conference, West Group A. Consisted of the Los Angeles Lakers, Phoenix Suns, Utah Jazz, Portland Trail Blazers, and the Memphis Grizzlies. And of course, Los Angeles Lakers take it 4-0. Huge point differential for them. So they came to play in this in-season tournament. I think that's pretty much played out how we said. We were kind of leery on the Suns because of injuries, but we pretty much felt like the Lakers had a good enough squad and were playing well enough to make it out of Group A. Any comments on that?
Oh man, it just sounds great. People giving Lakers their flowers, saying the largest differential in points. I mean, it just sounds so great to me. You summed it up perfectly. I don't think I got anything else to add there.
They came to play. I got something to say about that later, but yeah, the Lakers, they're looking good. West Group B consisted of the New Orleans Pelicans, Houston Rockets, Denver Nuggets, Dallas Mavericks, and LA Clippers. Now, we, of course, went with the Nuggets, which, I mean, under most circumstances, they probably would have come out of Group B, but unfortunately, Jamal Murray was hurt. They had some little difficulties, but surprisingly, the New Orleans Pelicans, I think Zion must have watched our midweek mayhem a couple of weeks ago, the hot takes, and heard me say he needs to be traded, and that lit him up to actually start playing. So the New Orleans Pelicans come out of the West Group B. Any surprises there or anything you have to say for that?
If we go back to one of my hot takes about the Denver Nuggets, I called it. I said that the Nuggets are top heavy, and one injury can be a big difference in how that team performs. Now, they took an L to the Pelicans. Zion Williamson again, just continuing to prove me wrong. Love it. Proving me right. And also a surprising loss to the Houston Rockets, who've actually been a really shockingly good team this season. Love the pace of play. Love Sengun and how he's been performing this season. Even Dylan Brooks, I got to give him his flowers too. Not very many of them, but I give him his flowers. But yeah, I was surprised. But when the Nuggets, when there was an injury with them, everybody kind of knew they were going to lose some games. The Mavericks, I thought they would have taken these games a little bit more seriously again. I mean, they lost to Denver, which is no surprise there. But a loss to the Pelicans, I think they had enough to beat the Pelicans that night. So yeah, I was a little underwhelming, or I was a little shocked on Dallas's poor play. Obviously, we all know the Clippers. I'm not surprised anymore because they had literally one of statistically the best starting fives in the NBA with Russell Westbrook, Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, Robert Covington, and Zubac. And I think they were like number one in the league in terms of like production. They trade that lineup off.
The mighty have fallen.
Now they replace it with James Harden. So
yes.
Yeah, they definitely hurt themselves with that one. But yeah, shout out to the Pelicans. Yeah. Zion is him. Yeah,
Zion. Hey, I'm glad when players prove me wrong. So I'm glad that Zion is actually playing like he wants to be there. So that ends up in West Group C. The Sacramento Kings, Minnesota Timberwolves, Golden State Warriors, OKC Thunder, and San Antonio Spurs. Let's not even talk about the Spurs. Sacramento actually comes out of Group C. What are your thoughts on that? I believe I said I was high on Golden State early in the season. They were looking pretty good, but Draymond going crazy, injuries, Clay stinking it up. They dropped down. Minnesota, your boys, they had a chance, but their point differential is 0. So they were playing evenly with all the other teams. Sacramento, of course, 4-0, so they take Group C. How do you feel about that? Surprised or not really?
I'm definitely more surprised about the Thunder more than any other team in that bracket. I thought the Thunder, they've been performing really well this season. I kind of thought they would take the in-season games a little bit more serious and they'd close out these games. A lot of those games were close. And just to see them lose, like I said, the Golden State, who really has been playing that well, that's a bad loss. I mean, the Kings, they've been playing good as of late, so that's understandable. And of course, they're going to lose to the Timberwolves because that's that team. But the Timberwolves, I kind of thought they would, even though I picked the Warriors and the Thunder as my two teams who I thought would come out, neither of them did. So I am surprised that those two teams didn't. But the Kings deserve it. They've been playing very well. Even though some of their plays a little bit underwhelming, but I'll get into that later.
Of course, rounding out the group as far as getting into the wild card slot. The Phoenix Suns with a 34-point differential. So they, even though we kind of felt like the Suns could be a problem in Group A, they've shown that they could make it out into the bracket play. So they are also in play when it comes to the knockout rounds. So let's jump into our predictions for the knockout rounds. We're gonna start out East again tomorrow. I believe it's tomorrow night, or is it the 5th? Either way, the Milwaukee Bucks will play. They're the number 1 seed. It's tomorrow. Okay, they're the number 1 seed. They will play the New York Knicks. Who do you got coming out of that one? I think that's gonna be a tough one, but who you got coming out of the Milwaukee Knicks game?
Sorry, I was setting up. So when you look at this one, I think both teams pretty evenly matched as of early on in the season. When you look at, Milwaukee's 9-1 at home. You have one of the best road teams in the East. They're the number 2 road team in the East. That's the New York Knicks. They're the 3rd ranking defense. Again, the New York Knicks. So they're a really sound defensive team. While, like I said, one of my concerns with the Bucks, they're 21st. They're 21st in the NBA in defensive rating. That's not a good sign when they've been, at least I want to say, I don't know if they've been top 5, but they've been at least a top 10 defensive team in the NBA because they, used all their size and they would force teams to beat them from the outside. Now teams are going inside and they're giving them whatever they want at the rim because there's just no protection there anymore. So if you break it down to the players, of course, the big guns for the Knicks, Brunson, average, he had 45 their last meeting. He shot the ball 30 times. They needed every last shot he took because no one else was really giving them too much. Because, his co-partner, one person that, again, I keep going back, man, he's just not that good. He is buns. And that's Julius Randle.
He can get you some points. He can do some good things out there.
He can do some good things, and then he can go and do 5 terrible things, like shoot contested shots. I already told you about the clip of this man's mid-range shot not being respected. He thinks he's better than what he is, and that hurts them. Because, again, his last meeting with them, 5 for 20. Like I said, not very good. 1 for 9 from 3. Not very good at all. But then you go look at Milwaukee. You got Damian Lillard coming off a 30-point game against the Knicks. Giannis, 22 and 8. Underwhelming numbers by Giannis. I think the big key factor will be the other guys. I think RJ Barrett did not play in that last meeting with the Bucks and the Knicks. So I consider that to be a big upgrade for the Knicks going into this game. Hart didn't play too well in the last meeting. I expect him to play a little bit better. I don't think he's going to be super efficient, but I think he'll be better. Another player, Dante DiVincenzo for the Knicks. Another player that I think can definitely play in key moments for them and get, good contributions in the minutes that he plays. And then you're looking at the Bucks side, Crowder played a good game. Lopez, he didn't play too well. So I think on the tear that he's been on recently, even dropping 40 points a couple games ago, like he's been playing a lot better. I expect him to play as good as he's been playing, these last few games. But the biggest X factor for me in terms of the bench play, Beauchamp. In 13 minutes, he gave them 13 points, solid defense, and, just another dimension. When Chris Middleton kind of doesn't have his game that night, he's a guy who can plug into that offense and just space the floor, give you, effort on the defensive end, and just, compete. And I think that's one of the big things you need players to come off the bench ready to go, like a Bobby Portis. But he needs help in that second unit. So looking at that last game, the Knicks beat them up in the paint, 56 rebounds to 41. That's not going to cut it for Milwaukee if they want to continue to win. You got 42 points in the paint in favor of the Knicks to Milwaukee's 28, which is a surprise because you got Giannis, Lopez, Bobby Portis, a bigger team. But one of the main things that's kind of another key point for the Knicks, they're the number 1 team in limiting points in the paint. So it makes sense why Giannis, was 6 for 10, very timid, not very aggressive, because they have people down there who can bother him. So, and then Milwaukee's 15th in the NBA in terms of allowing points in the paint. So they're not very good at protecting the rim. A la why Jalen Brunson was getting whatever he wanted, mid-range, three-point line, and definitely anything in the post or the inside area. But my conclusion, I say the Bucks will win this game. It'll be a close game. Like I said, they're 9-1 at home. They play really good at home. Even though the Knicks are a good road team, and having the addition of RJ Barrett will be a really big bonus for them, I got Milwaukee coming out tonight in a close game.
Okay. So, yeah, I agree with pretty much all you said. I think the Bucks are one of the teams, kind of like the Lakers, that are taking this in-season tournament seriously. I saw them last Tuesday when playing Miami Heat. That was a back-and-forth game. They were giving it just and taking it, and Miami was going at them. But the Bucks finally, Chris Middleton stepped up, Dame stepped up, Giannis was hitting some big shots. So I think they're taking this seriously, and I think they want to show that they're a team to be reckoned with out east. I think it's going to be a good game. The Knicks are really not a bad team. They are a good, solid Eastern Conference team, even though their record might not show it. They might be seem like they're middle of the pack, but they're really a good team. Scrappy team, like I said. And was it Hartenstein and Mitchell Robinson? They're going to be tough down there for Giannis and Brook Lopez. Those are some tough bigs they're tough bigs. Hartenstein, he's not the greatest, but he's going to bother those guys. I
think Robinson is, the Hartenstein, whatever, Einstein, whatever you want to call him.
I mean, he'll be a deterrent for him. He'll cause trouble down low, but I think the Bucks will come out of this. I think it's going to be a close game. I think through three quarters it's going to be really close. In the fourth quarter, I think the Bucks, if Damian Lillard is playing like the Damian Lillard we've seen these last couple of games, not counting the Chicago game where they lost, but if he's playing well and Chris Middleton can give them something, just a little bit, they should walk out tomorrow night with a W. So moving on to the number 2 Indiana Pacers taking on the number 3 Boston Celtics. As far as I see, this is the last time the Pacers and Celtics played. It was a complete destruction. It was 155-104. But the key to that game was no Tyrese Halliburton. He did not play in that game. So that's going to be a big change because he'll be there. I don't think it's going to be that big of a deficit for the Pacers. I think they will have a good game. They're on their home court where they're pretty good. But I think Boston, as long as everybody comes and is there and shows up, I just think Boston has too much firepower. Defensively, they're solid. Even Porzingis gives them something inside. So, and as you said before, the Indiana Pacers are small, so they're not going to get to the basket like that. So it's going to have to be a lot of. They can shoot. They got shooters, but it's a make or miss league. So if they're off even a little bit, I think Boston is able to capitalize off of that and get a W. Who do you think walks out this week with that W between the Pacers and the Celtics?
Yeah, so just like you said, you highlighted a very key point. They got blown off the floor, the Pacers did, by the Celtics in the last meeting. But again, no Tyrese Halliburton. The only kicker with Tyrese Halliburton is he's coming off of a bruised knee injury. So right now he's listed as a game-time decision because they didn't play in their last game against the Miami Heat. But they had good contributions from like Bruce Brown, Miles Turner, Obi Toppin. It was basically a very good team win without Tyrese Halliburton. So they have that going for them going into tomorrow's game against the Celtics. But going into that, I would say that if you go back to last season, looking at how they played in Indiana, because this game will be in Indiana, I think that plays to the Pacers' favor. You got bench players, role players. They'll be able to contribute more because, they got that home cooking. Everything isn't going to be like the word I'm looking for. I guess not as tense in Boston's home crowd since you've got your own home crowd. And I think that's going to make a world of difference. Now, when you look at the two teams and how they like shake up, obviously Boston is the better team. They're the better defensive team. They even, I want to say, yeah, they're one of the best defensive rebounding teams as well. But when it comes down to when both teams are clicking, you have the Celtics with two elite shot creators when they're both on, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum. And then you have an elite playmaker in Tyrese Halliburton, where I think Tyrese Halliburton favors is if the game is close, like the last couple minutes of the game, his playmaking can get you a win, a la LeBron James, Luka Doncic. Elite playmakers find a way in close games to get the job done. But in this situation, I don't think it's going to be that close of a game. I don't think the Celtics are going to keep them that close up into the final minutes. I think it'll be a close game for probably 3.5 quarters. But I think the Celtics' execution, their defense, they'll lock down when it's time to lock down. And I got the Celtics winning 10 to 15 points just because of their depth and their defensive consistency versus the Pacers.
Yeah, well, great minds think alike. So let's head out west, where the number 2 Sacramento Kings will take on the number 3 New Orleans Pelicans. Both teams riding pretty high right now. So who do you think comes out of that one?
Yeah, for this one, it's a little interesting. Like their first meeting, the Pelicans blew them off the floor. It was a really bad game for the Kings, which at that point in the season, they were rolling. They're one of the hottest teams in the league. But then they get slowed down by the Pelicans. When you go back and look at the two meetings, De'Aaron Fox averaged 20 points a game, couple assists, couple rebounds. His other offensive numbers really weren't all that impressive. Shooting 40% from the field, 21% from three in their two meetings. Sabonis hasn't played much well either. 16.5 points a game, 9.5 rebounds, averaging 4 turnovers a game. That's not going to get it done against a team like the Pelicans. But he is shooting 63% from the field, so he is getting the touches he needs, and he is scoring at a efficient clip. I just think I need to see him take more shots, personally speaking. Looking at the Pelicans, Zion Williamson averaging 25.5 points a game, 4 rebounds, 6 assists, 22 from 32 from the field in their first two meetings, 68.75% from the field. That's very efficient. I don't see him slowing down anytime soon. Brandon Ingram, 27 points per game, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, shooting 55.6% in their two meetings. 6 for 9 from 3, 67.7%, or 66.7%, from 3. Very efficient numbers. These two have been cooking against the Kings. Only kicker is this game is going to be in Sacramento. And Sacramento is a very good home team. It's going to be a very tough outing for the Pelicans. And one of the reasons why they blew them out in their first meeting was because they had a season-high 38 assists. Ball was moving. You got to see glimpses of Zion's playmaking, Brandon Ingram's playmaking. You got to see a very well-balanced diet from the Pelicans. The main thing I could say when you look at how these two teams match up, biggest emphasis, points in the paint. In the two matchups, the Pelicans have dominated the Kings in the paint. 126 points to the Kings 68. That is a very big discrepancy. They need to keep these boys out of the paint, a la Zion Williamson, or you're in for a long night. They need some more. The Kings need some more contributors. Kevin Huerter has not shot well in either one of the two games. Keegan Murray, I think he didn't play in the first meeting, but he played in the second one. He didn't play very well. 5 points though. And then you get the addition of Trey Murphy III. He's come back from his meniscus injury. He's looked pretty well. Having him on your team definitely doesn't hurt. He gives them a depth, especially their second unit. He gives them like another dynamic. So I look for him to have a good impact on that game. Herb Jones, when he can give you anywhere from 10 to 20 a night, is a very good addition to your, what you're already getting from Zion and Ingram, especially since CJ McCollum's still down with his injury. So you need the others to step up for a game like this, especially against the Kings when you're going on the road. But for me, since the Pelicans aren't a very good road team, they're 3-6 on the road. I'm going to slide with a close win for the Sacramento Kings. I think De'Aaron Fox and Sabonis will pick up their game against the Pelicans in specifically, and they'll win this night. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, the Kings are coming off of a big win over the Nuggets. They've been playing some good basketball. De'Aaron Fox is playing like he's a definite all-star this year. But the Pelicans are also playing very well. Besides that first meeting, I think that this team is close. It's kind of like the Bucks and the Knicks, where it could go either way because they're two scrappy teams. I think that De'Aaron Fox, Malik Monk, those two are playing really, really well. Like you said, Herter, he's not shooting the best right now, but that's how it goes. Zion's playing the best basketball of his career so far, I feel. And he's finally bought into the Pelicans game plan. So I think that this is going to come down to, number one, I think home court advantage is going to be big for Sacramento here because, you like you said, you got home cooking. So their margin of error is a little less than, more than that of the Pelicans. So I think that if Sacramento gives a balanced attack, like they usually do, like they did against the Nuggets, and, Fox shows up, Monk shows up, Sabonis gives you something, I think they have enough to take down the Pelicans, and I think they will. I just think they've been on a tear right now, and I think they're also a team that seems to be taking this in-season tournament pretty seriously. And, and I guess Zion did listen to you about one plate during Thanksgiving because he's kept up his pace. It's going to be hard. Sabonis, those boys for the Kings aren't going to be able to stop him. But I think there's enough that the Kings can do well to outscore the Pelicans. So I think Sacramento will get to that semifinals out west, and I think it'll be close. I think it's going to go similar to the Bucks Knicks in that it will be very close for 3 quarters, and then I think home court advantage. Sacramento's a young team; they're going to start running on them. If Fox is playing well, I don't see nobody on the Pelicans that can stop him. He's going to pull it away for him, and it's going to be probably a 10-point game that they can get in the record books and move on to the next round. So that brings us to what I think is the main event of the first round, or quarterfinals first round. The Los Angeles Lakers versus the Phoenix Suns. Now, they've already met. They've met, twice this year so far? Yep. And the Lakers have beaten them both times.
Yep.
They seem to have Phoenix's number this year for some reason. And as I said, the Lakers are taking this in-season tournament seriously. And now they have Jared Vanderbilt back. I think Hachimura may be back by then, or he won't be back.
I think he might still be out.
Okay, I know him and Gabe Vincent they're close to coming back, but they're not back yet. The Suns just aren't complete. And without them actually they're on a hot streak too, though. They've been playing well. Kevin Durant's playing well, 35 years old. Booker's been playing the de facto point guard, combo guard. He's been playing pretty well, and he's been running that offense efficiently. They just don't have the defense. And the Lakers, when they're clicking, you got to stop them. You have to make some defensive stops. And if you don't have the players that can do that, the Lakers are just going to stay in a little space where even if you're up 10 points, as long as they stay within that 10 range, they can pour it on in the fourth quarter and just pound you. And I think that's what's going to happen here. The Suns will probably get off to a good start because Lakers are notorious for bad first quarters. They come back in the second usually, but they'll get down by 20 in the first and be up by 3 by halftime. That's just how they're slow starters. But I think this will be that type of game. Phoenix will start out good. Booker, Durant hitting, and then LeBron will slow it down, bring it to their pace, and just dump all over them, because who's going to stop AD? Nurkic? No. So I think that this is easily, I'm not going to say it's going to be easy for the Lakers, but I think that this is a game that's very winnable for them. I don't like Phoenix, right? I don't like Phoenix to be a team like the Lakers. Let me say it like that, because as I said, they don't have enough defense, and defensive teams are teams that do well against the Los Angeles Lakers. Teams that try to outpoint them, outscore them, not so much. So Lakers, I think they'll be up pretty well in the fourth and take it on home. What you got?
Yeah, I mean, so just looking at this, the Suns are, pretty good on the road at 7-3. So, they're going to be poised to look to upset the Lakers, I think. The Lakers are 8-2 at home. They're a really good team at home. They're hard to beat when they're clicking. Obviously, I could give you Durant's numbers, 38.5 points per game, 10 rebounds. He's played very well against the Lakers. There's nothing much they can do. They don't have any. They could throw Vando. They could throw Christian Wood at him. Throw a bus at him. It's not going to matter. Kevin Durant's going to get his. The others is going to be the X factor for the Phoenix Suns. What can Eric Gordon give you? Obviously, you have Devin Booker now, so that could shift the tide a lot more closer in the fourth quarter, especially when Devin Booker knows to close the game out. Kevin Durant's got a co-star now, so it's gonna be a dogfight. Like you said, the Lakers are notorious for being down bad in the first quarter. I don't see that changing tonight. I think Phoenix is going to come in there, smack them in the face, probably be up 15-20 in the first quarter. Lakers are just going to have to climb that uphill battle and weather the storm. They're ninth defensively, so they have that in their back pocket that they can throw a lot of defensive lineups out there and bother the Suns. Obviously, the Suns aren't going to really guard, so the Lakers don't have to worry about scoring. It's stopping them. And the Lakers, for some reason, they leave great three-point shooters, just defensive lapses where they just leave great shooters wide open 2 or 3 possessions in a row until they call a timeout, just to make an even worse defensive substitution. But anyway, that's Darvinham's whole debacle with that team. But like I said, slow start from the Lakers. Phoenix will end up, coming down to earth. They'll shoot the lights out in the first, and then they'll kind of simmer down throughout the game. Lakers will come back. LeBron and AD will take them home in a close game. That's pretty much all I got.
Okay, you believe in your Lakers a little less to me. I think they're going to win double digits over the Suns. I think they'll, because the Suns just, like I said, they try to outpoint you. But as long as they have LeBron James on the court, but that's heading into my last topic. What about when LeBron James isn't on the court and says goodbye to the NBA? That's something that we have to really look at, because even last summer, he kind of hinted at retirement. I knew he wasn't going to retire, but he kind of threw that out there to let people know that his days are numbered, and the NBA is going to be in a tough place because, like him or not, LeBron James is one of the biggest stars ever in the NBA of basketball. So is the NBA prepared for life after LeBron? What do you think? Do you think there's someone in the horizons coming up? Do you think they were going to take a hit?
So if you look back at a little revisionist history, Magic, Bird, MJ, Kobe, LeBron, probably missed a few people, but regardless, big names, all-American players, that's what the NBA gravitates to. Like, when you look at the next person after LeBron, like, you can look at the remaining years of Steph Curry, if he's still in the league past LeBron, Kevin Durant, same thing. But the narrative is really going to push behind a transcendent player. And as of this moment, I don't think we have any transcendent players that are ready to take the throne, as you could say, from LeBron when he finally decides to step down. When you look at our last 5 MVPs, all foreign, Embiid, Jokic, Giannis, it's hard to say, like, is there going to be another LeBron, another transcendent great that's ready to take the reins as soon as LeBron leaves? I think it might take a few seasons, honestly speaking. I think the NBA will take a dip in the ratings. I think it would take like a player, like, in my estimations, Anthony Edwards. But I think he would have to, raise his level of performance, and go to a bigger market team. Nobody's going to watch anybody on the Timberwolves. Like, we have all these like young up and coming players like a Chet, like a Wemby, but they're all in like small market teams, and they don't get as much love as the Knicks, as the Heat, as the Lakers. It's going to take something like that to kind of quell, because I don't think any of these players are like that next transcendent player, like a LeBron, like a MJ, like a Kobe. But I think putting those players in bigger markets, I think the NBA will profit more off of their namesake, their jersey sales, just the level of cachet that especially Anthony Edwards has. If you couple that with winning, you couple that with him shattering expectations, I think those kind of things can spell for a recipe for someone to take the reins of the NBA. But I don't see a player right now that can do it if he were to retire right now at this point in time.
Okay. And for the sake of time, I'm gonna have to kind of speed through this, I might break out in hives, but I have to give LeBron his flowers right now because truthfully, he's one of a kind. There's only there's a handful of players that are on the level of LeBron James, his name alone. And the only person that's really rivaled him during that time was Kobe Bryant, not as far as his gameplay, but as far as his namesake and his recognition. But even Kobe had some stinkers of a team, and I think that kind of hurt some of Kobe's because players didn't want to play with him. Everybody wants to play with LeBron. They tried to bump KD up, but we saw once he left the Warriors, great player, phenomenal player, once-in-a-lifetime player, very weak leader, which is not what LeBron is. He's a very good leader. He's both. So with that said, it just seems like American fans do not gravitate to foreign-born players. Giannis should be a huge deal, but he's not. Jokic should be a tremendous deal. He's not. Embiid too. Luka even has the personality. Fans don't gravitate to him because he's not American. We're territorial like that. We only give our fandom to those that are like us. Sadly, that's just the way it is right now. So, as you said, there are some that could potentially take that torch and run with it. Wemby, I think, has a chance just because of how unique he is and how unique he looks. But he's going to have to make that rise. Even then, I don't think, because he's foreign, I don't think he's going to really be a player that. I remember LeBron wasn't even in the playoffs, and Undisputed started with LeBron James as their top topic. Who does that unless you are a LeBron James or you're Michael Jordan or Magic Johnson? Unless you're Magic Johnson, if you're MJ or LeBron, you're going to be talked about even if you're not even playing. So Wemby's going to have a tough time. I think they wanted Zion, but he just hasn't lived up to the hype. He's trying to get back to that hype, but it's a slow climb for him. He missed some good years, early years, where he could have built his name up. But I think, as you said, if he goes to a bigger market, maybe. Of course, Anthony Edwards was my third pick. You took it from me. I was going to say he would potentially be LeBron-esque. I don't think he's going to be that level, but I think he's got the gameplay. I think he has the personality, all of that to really get to the next level. He's not going to be first of the morning topics, but he can definitely get some name recognition and be, one of the top talked about stars. But we got to get out of here. Zoom's about to kick us off. So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Please like and subscribe to the channel. Check us out on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts. If you get a chance, all the links will be in the description. Please help us grow. We're trying to just, this helps us give you more content and give you more. So we appreciate all the love we're getting so far, and hopefully we can keep going and doing this for you guys. Check us out. Midweek Mayhem. Big Nige will be head of the table for that. So you never know. We get a little rawer on that show. So you never know what the topic will be. So come check us out Wednesday, and we will be back soon. Well, we'll be back next Monday with the GOATcast podcast. So thank you guys.